sudden. Understand this, however. Your arrow of the Red Dragon garnered newly opponents from unknown whereabouts, and it also created formations of alliances. Both Black Dragons, Fatalis and Alatreon, were both once rivals with certain history against another. But thanks to the Red Dragon being unified, now I am not pinning any blame towards you. It is your unfinished business that accidentally caused a domino effect, one where it requires my further presence. For the time being, I do not know who worked with Fatalis and Alatreon, hence to my question stated earlier. You're the only person from this universe here that I know of. You are able to stand firm against your opponents. There hasn't been anyone thus far who matches your capabilities. So my options here are limited. I hope you understand that, Jazz. With the remaining enemies left, they are preventing my one goal, to remove this world's timeline from its existence. After all, we are both intruders to their kind and humanities. We never existed to them within their past, present, and future. Where we belong is a far different association. We cannot dwell further into that information, however. If it has piqued your interest, then allow me to propose another deal. A propositional deal where both parties may concur with. Here's how it goes. Assist me within this final battle, and I shall give you the soul memories you've been quietly searching for, Jazz. I know more about you than you do for yourself. With the truths I hold, it will open the gates of closed memories, from happy moments to tragedies. They will all be revealed. Now, of course, you will fulfill my end of the deal. As you've done it before, you will help me collect the souls of the Black Dragons, combining the souls with the Red Dragon and the Black Dragons all together. I will weaponize their powers to erase this timeline, once and for all. You and I will be out of this mess, no longer entangled elsewhere, and you will be free to choose the path you wish for. As spoken, the time is always of the essence. I hope you will accept my deal. I am offering to you, Jazz. The finale worth finishing the stud. Then our second deal has been sealed. Let us drift off to the next destination, where I have signaled the Black Dragons and their crew to meet us within the Elder's recess. It had been quite some time from my last visit to this place. With every creature decimated, an eerie ambience is what rests now. Our work is nearly finished, so it'd be pointless to turn back. We shall finish this together. The Seymour just has arrived. Though it appears, however, that they are acting rather unusual. Let us observe from here, at a safe distance, to cover what happens next. Fascinating. The destructional aura that embodies the Black Dragon. It is a sight to foresee. However, it is the least of my issues to worry about. I have to assume that their howl is a signal to their allies about the presence. Let us proceed to the next destination point, Jazz. Since the region around us rumbles uncontrollably under pressure to Fatalis' deafening power, an interventional act of theirs sets the stage for the upcoming war. They draw every second closer to us with their eagerness. Allow me to handle the talking from here.
Is this really the place for our duel to finally commence? I had expected better from you, immortal.
This region only serves as our meeting point, Fatalis. We have yet to see more of what comes next. Take my word from last time when I mentioned about the blade. It's a battleground for both parties to challenge it.
Meeting point. You have me arrived to a meeting point instead of directly to your lair. Do you take me as the fool who has long patience to wait?
I'd say it's for your own good, because I can end this now at any given opportunity. As for your allies, I can sense they're approaching the right. I come a total of 4 monsters you form alliances with.
They are the strongest and formidable allies that the Blackguard and I selected right before the Red Dragon's independent doom. From that extent, they also have history with your little apprentice beside you, Q.
History of my apprentice. Such value does one little information provide. Thanks to that, I'll reorganize the structure of our group. Our allies, of course, are hovering now and standing right before us. Splendid. Everyone is here, all together, in one gathering. I shall commence forth with my power in hand, creating an entrance. Our personal rivalries and grudges shall be celebrated. Are you all prepared?
The Immortal's executive power right before our eyes. Rajang, stop him at once. Kion't. Rajang, he vanished. A work of the Immortal's abilities. Of teleportation. The others we gathered are being taken somewhere too. What should we do to nip this dragon? Do not fret, Blackguard. He
very lair where our final battle will commence.
We're battling within his lair? Why wasn't I told about this?
I'll see you there, Q. Interesting. A dark world that has succumbed into utter madness. You have taken the lives of humanity within this place. Now you have it as our battleground for our final confrontation. Am I correct? An observation, Fatalis. It is true that this place once served realms for humanity to thrive, but no longer does it suit for any survivor. Soon you will join the rest. You five remain as the sole survivors of your world. Your pending deaths are calling for you all. Fortunately, however, you can wager a possibility firsthand. With upcoming analysis on each of you present, it is simply a review of your overall battle before we get to the actual business. I shall carry the task at hand. Are we understood, Fatalis? Sounds fine to me. Q. But only now should we get to the main event that everyone is expecting. I'll be the one deciding who takes a turn for an analysis. Rajang, we're up first. Don't disappoint. What? Monkey first? Again? Alatreon bark monkey attack. Now fat bark for monkey get analyze. What monkey get in return, fatty?
Rajang, it's Alatreon, not Alatreon. How did you even come up with that?
Enough. Are you two numbskulls going to bicker over some petty nonsense? Rajang, you can have the human next to Q. Take the first turn. Soon comes Namielle, Velkhana, and the rest. Are we clear now? Fine. Monkey go. Monkey want revenge on human. They kill little brother, Jane. Monkey really angry. So let's start, Magic Man. Then we shall begin. Make your first move. Very humble.
Honey, I am extremely worried about you. I think you may be in danger.
The path, furious, Rajang.
Welcome back. We are here within the first analysis and we're going to be discussing about Temporary Furious Rajang. Temporary Furious Rajang here is obviously one of those monsters that everyone struggles with. Yes, you heard me right. Pretty much a lot of people who do not practice the Rajang are the type of people who struggle and complain about him online. Now, as you can see here with Tempered Furious Rajang, for Charge Blade, it is possible to SCD him. With Rajang, you can simply keep it with a good amount of distance and still land all 6 files on this guy. It's possible. It's literally possible to SCD this guy. Now, of course, you're gonna have to use it with True Fatalis Charge Blade instead of Quick Jar Ice. People who use it with Quick Jar Ice will obviously use it with Safi Jiva gear. Safi Jiva gear here, although it boosts your elemental status, just do note that even if you do it with SCD, you're only landing 205 of damage files, and the other 3 files will basically be under 205. And this will be that type of damage, which of course is inconsistent. When you're doing consistent damage, you would literally do it with 170 per file, so you need to rely on the True Fatalis Charge Blade, because the True Fatalis Charge Blade will land good damage if you're using it with Fatalis gear. Now, what beats Tempered Furious Rajang the most is Frostcraft, because with Frostcraft, it does more on the physical damage, and with Rajang here, it literally matters about the physical damage. Just to tell you, for proof, I've hit a good 900 on the physical damage with SCED, and the rest of the files have been boosted up to 200 by just using Assassin Hood and Frostcraft alone, being buffed up just right. Of course, if you want to still use Kajard Strong Arm Ice, then you need to use it with Frostcraft. Now, of course, you can argue with me that there's the critical status that is on the Kajard Strong Arm Ice. I wouldn't really care. If you put it with Frostcraft, again, the 4th piece that unlocks the hidden passive ability, which obviously will just give you Frostcraft, that will boost up your physical damage for Kajard Strong Arm Ice. You're basically just still going to have it relied on using physical damage. And yes, I've landed 5 minutes using Kajard Ice, but with Frostcraft. You wouldn't really need to rely on it with Safi Jiva gear. You're basically just going to have to use it with Frostcraft, because if you're using it with Safi Jiva gear, that's where you see a lot of people would just do the whole AED guard point AED on the loop to Rajang. That is the more dangerous approach to a Tempered Furious Rajang. You simply would want it to be more on the raw axe play swirls and then just moving about. You have to be quick on your toes. You basically have to avoid with Tempered Furious Rajang's attacks, but at some occasions when he does do his fist, where it basically kind of looks like a lawnmower is how I like to call it, it's obviously going to catch you, but of course you need guard 5 with it in order to actually block it for any independent type of attacks that he will deliver. He's very fast with it, of course, but I love this guy because he simply just humbles people and puts them in their place. Even when they actually beat Fatalis several times, they still can't beat a single Rajang. That's why he's the Fairy Humbler, and literally in the endgame portions of Iceborne, and he deserves the spot in being a part of the 4 horsemen of endgame Iceborne. So overall, with Tempered Furious Rajang, bring guard 5. All of his attacks here are basically like nukes. They will damage you. Don't bother with Safi Jiva gear because it will only make you Savage X. If you're like me as an SED user, use it with Frostcraft. Have it with consistency, not inconsistency.
So the first analysis is done and complete, just like that. It is a review over onto our past historical fights against each other, using them as self-reminders. I doubt as if it would help you out in this early foundation of upcoming duels ahead. Q. It is mandatory regardless. I am re-acknowledging every recount of information that had been in store for you already from the past. We shall proceed to the next monster within this segment.
Now, I fought AT Namielle a whole bunch of times. Consider me as an AT Namielle enjoyer. With Chargeblade here, it may seem quote-unquote impossible, but if you're only using the SCD play, this is the strongest aspect that you need to lean towards against an AT Namielle. I'm not going to say it again to you about Savage Ice because Savage Ice is pathetic against this one. It's not about physical damage this time, it's about the elemental damage. So this is where Safi Jiva gear would definitely shine. And of course, I'll put aside Frostcraft for now because Frostcraft will be better used among the other three that I'll be talking about a bit later. Now with AT Namielle, you'll be starting off within the area that basically is within the center of the map of Coral Highlands. And all you really need to do specifically against AT Namielle, don't agitate it. The reason why I'm just going to say this specifically is because for Chargeblade, out of all the weapons here that basically has the approach of agitating monsters in order to get the damage buffed, for AT Namielle it's a bit weird. It works in a reverse mechanism that I like to say, to where AT Namielle will take big damage of your files if you don't ever agitate it. If any of the files of fire, Kajar King specifically is what you need to bring, you will do 364 per damage, and that is with the Coalescence buff. Now, of course, the Coalescence buff here is super important for elemental charge blades here, which is why you need to have it on you, no matter what. If you drop it down by simply agitating AT Namielle, this is where you only get 324 or under. So basically, you need to play it smart against AT Namielle. And of course, you may have seen videos of AT Namielle being run with Palikos. For me, I don't even bother running with Palikos at all. But if you want to bring a Paliko because you just simply need something just to obstruct AT Namielle in order for you to deliver SCDs, go ahead. Be my guest after all. But at the same time though, what you need to do is actually do the light attack with the guard bash. When you do those two together, you basically need to maximize out your files, which basically will give you the red charge. But you need to have it with a condensed slash in order to ignore armor. When you have that, this is where you basically can prioritize that in delivering those blows into AT Namielle's head. When you do so, it will damage AT Namielle by a huge number. And the reason why I say a huge number is because, again, you're only focused with delivering attacks that are elemental than are physical damage. AT Namielle will specifically be fully dependent on the SCD playstyle. The only ever time you probably would ever need to Savage Ice, and this is up to you, but it is still possible just to SCD AT Namielle all throughout the fight. You'll be seeing it in the upcoming future video of, when I have it posted of AT Namielle. But of course, when Namielle does not have any water, basically dehydrated, you wouldn't see any beautiful colors, the abstract colors on her. You'll basically just see it to be empty. It is basically dull of color, so basically there's nothing there. You can use Savage Tracks right there just for the physical damage during the meantime. And then of course, when you force AT Namielle to basically go back on the water, then you switch it up by simply doing it the SCD approach. Now of course, it's going to be a mixture of hybrid, or you can simply do it full SCD. There are two ways of a playstyle that you can approach it with. I'm just saying that whether you want to approach it with hybrid is up to you. If you want to be like me and approach a full SCD playstyle, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, of course, you have to aim solely on the head. Now, just do remember that AT Namielle can be a little feisty. If you break its head after the 5th break, and if it has water, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to remove the water from AT Namielle, which makes it a bit more difficult. But at the same time, it's RNG completely at the end of the day. You need to use Kajar King with Safi Jiva gear, and you need to fully rely on the tech that I taught about, the light attack and guard bash tech, and you simply need to attack the head in order to topple it. Every 2 head breaks will guarantee you a topple. This is basically AT Namielle, who's at the biggest speed yet, and you basically need to play it smart by definitely not delivering AEDs unless it's a good opening. Overall, with AT Namielle, just play it safe because AT Namielle is hardly recognized, unlike the 4 horsemen of Endgame Iceborne that will be discussed right about soon. And when I discuss these with you about Safi Jiva gear, it's mainly on the elemental damage side than it is the physical damage side. You will understand this a bit more when I discuss it about with Alatreon. But for now, as said, for AT Namielle, I really do enjoy this monster, and I really do hope that it kind of gets some recognition one day or the other. At the end of the day, as I said, your approach, your damage, however you like it. I ain't pushing you, but these are my words of wisdom that basically kind of comes from my own experience after all, after fighting these guys several times.
Analysis progression so far has completed 2 of my members within the squad. Would you hurry this up? We're getting halfway. I'd like to get this over with. The sooner the better. Begin your next one over to our friend here, Velkhana. Patience with us. You were doing well within the first few analyses I've conducted and revealed. And you need to get carried away now. It was part of our proposition to get this done in quick. If you insist, Velkhana, prepare yourself for your analysis. Arch-tempered Velkhana.
Arch-tempered Velkhana. This was my main goal and obviously my sole reason as to why I'm still here on World. Now, of course, with Arch-tempered Velkhana, you will need to approach it in a careful pace. You will need to start off with the flash opener. You will need to prioritize this as a charge blade user because compared to other weapons like Greatsword or SNS or even Longsword, they dominate against AT Velkhana if you're doing it correctly, and you wouldn't really need to rely on the flash opener. Charge blade, on the other hand, if you want to get yourself prepared with files and have everything sorted out for you on your combinations and the mechanic that is required for the charge blade to functionalize, yes, you'll need to rely on the flash opener. What you do first specifically is claw her 3 times to the head. It takes a total of 5 claws to in order and tenderize the monster without ever having to use the tenderize mechanism. You will basically need to have AT Velkhana hit the wall at least twice. This is your big opener that you need to rely with because when you have this prepared for yourself, you will need to have it ready so that when your charge blade is up with the shield, with the condensed slash, optional, but of course you need the 6 file stacks of double. That's where you begin your approach with AT Velkhana. Now with AT Velkhana, it comes down to one main opener that I talk about the most, the Ice Pool. The Ice Pool is perfect for the SED approach, and you basically need to prioritize that 24/7 anytime you see an Ice Pool. It is a perfect opener that you can deliver, and right as she delivers down the next attack, you're still able to have time just to get out from the icicles that hover above your head. Now, of course, with AT Velkhana, just do remember, if it's arch-tempered, just like Namielle as well, they will one-shot. You will mainly need to prioritize more on your damage against this thing because throughout this entire exchange of a battle, she's basically going to be within that central area of Elder's Recess that everyone knows that has the 2 big boulders. You need to prioritize those 2 big boulders eventually because when she hovers to the middle, you can have to shoot one of them just to stagger her. She'll have her animation playing as it is, being flinched by the boulder. And when you see that, you need to wait and then deliver the next pod attack towards her so that you can flinch her mid-air. It will be at 1 HP, and this is something called the Skyfall health bar. And you need to also deliver out the second boulder if she's within reach, so that 2 boulders strike her down because every 2 topples of her Skyfall will guarantee you free damage when she collapses and basically lays on the ground for you to damage her. AT Velkhana, of course, when she gets unagitated, this is where I talked about the clutch claw mechanism. When you claw her 2 times extra to put her to the wall nearby, her head will be tenderized right away for you. You need to simply approach it with SCD, like I said, because you really need to be swift. You really need to be quick on your toes with this thing because the recovery speed, like with Alatreon, both of them will basically have it at a super fast pace. You basically wouldn't have any time just to do anything else if you want to do something extra. You need to deliver 1 blow, and you need to continue the damage consistently with raw axe damage if she refuses to give you any openers. And the reason why I speak of the raw axe is because you're simply going to do it with Frostcraft. Frostcraft gives you that big potential boost of physical damage. And the file intake she takes is just like Kuve Torov. It basically goes over 200. At best, 207 for impact files. If you're planning to do Kajar King, best of luck when she covers herself up with the second coating layer. That means you're going to have to Savage Axe it, or you're still going to have to keep doing the light attack and garbage tech that I taught you about with AT Namielle. And you're mainly going to have to prioritize that if you're doing Elemental. Elemental is her weakness of fire still, correct? But there's a hidden weakness that she has, and it's Blast, which you can also use reaching Brachydios' Charge Blade. So your approach with AT Velkhana can come down to either Blast, or simply put, you can use it with the True Fatalis Charge Blade. I highly recommend the True Fatalis Charge Blade because it's more comfortable and is actually the endgame CB that you need to rely on all throughout when you're fighting monsters that you're basically joining SOSs with. Now, of course, if you're doing it with Fatalis gear, it's possible for you to land 207. If you're doing it with Frostcraft, most of the time you'll land around the 180s, which is basically still similar to an Artillery 5. And you're basically just going to have to keep it all throughout within the fight, just delivering your damage with SCD. I'm not going to be talking about Savage Axe specifically, because again, Savage Axe is on this different approach, but with SCD, you need to know the openers. The Ice Pool and her Supernova are the only attacks that you need to worry about in order to not block. These are attacks that penetrate through the shield. This does not mean that, oh, you can't bring guard against this thing. You're wrong. You need guard 5 for literally most of the attacks that comes in the barrage when she has the second layer of ice coated within her. Overall, when you're fighting with AT Velkhana, you need to play it safe. She one-shots, you need to understand her moveset the same way with the other 2 that I've analyzed already. You need to prioritize solely with the raw axe if she refuses to give you any openers, and this is only coming from the Frostcraft use. And you simply need to SCD her when she's down in the topple, because every 3 head breaks will guarantee free damage for you because she will topple. This is overall something that I discussed to you completely out of everything that I've learned about AT Velkhana, because she was one of the most irritating bosses for me just to land a really good time with, and I'm really excited to show it to you very soon.
conclusion of your analysis finale, Q. I will serve as the last among the 5 to be analyzed. But for now, Blackguard, you shall take up the analysis portion. Right this way.
My turn already this soon, tenebrous dragon. Then fine, I shall take the step forward. I too am in a hurry, wanting to get this done and over with.
Then of course, you deserve to be the last standing, Fatalis. The end is soon approaching, and my time here becomes shorter with every minute that passes. Fatalis Composer, prepare yourself for your upcoming analysis. Wait, Magic Man. You said monkey turn again? Did monkey hear right? Really, Rajang? Really now? You are... No, Rajang. Your analysis is over. Have yourself sit back and relax until everything has been concluded. Wait, monkey already went? Since when? Let's continue with our conversation, Alatreon.
Agreed.
Alatreon.
Charge Blade's greatest opponent that you can go against. Specifically because it's outright something that you would imagine. Savage X v Alatreon. Now, of course, with me, I'm mainly going to be talking about it differently. So if you want to listen, you listen. When you're fighting against Alatreon, you're mainly going to have to put yourself in the position where you have Rocksteady on yourself. Now, do keep in mind, Alatreon's RNG moves will occur during this moment right here. And when I wallbanged Alatreon with this type of movement specifically, where you grapple immediately and then you clutch claw him by doing the turns and then you just send him in with a flint shot, this is where it'd basically be a 50-50 opener. Now, of course, you can have this worked up a little bit. If you turn Alatreon just a bit in his positioning when he attacks you, right before you grapple onto his head just to clutch claw turn him, and then send him with a flint shot, then it will work 100% of the time. You will see this within the gameplay of Alatreon, where I'm going to be performing it specifically on Dawn of the Death Star. With Evening Star, I'll be re-uploading it as a solo video, which is going to be within Code X. And it's also going to input the same strategy that I've just talked about. With Alatreon here, you're mainly going to do the light attack and guard bash tech that I've talked about quite a lot already. With Tempered Lunastra, with AT Namielle, and with, of course, AT Velkhana if you're only going Kajar King. Now with Alatreon here, you have to use your elemental CBs. The CB here is more on the elemental advantage than it is for physical damage. So if for people to really focus on the physical damage, because this is what Alatreon needs the most, if you're going to finish him fast, you need more on the physical damage than it is on the elemental. Elemental on CB, it's enough. You literally have a lot on its status, which is why with CB, it is greatly a dominator against Alatreon when it comes to toppling him down completely. I've toppled him down at least 5 times within one matchup before, just to prove it to you that it's effective against this guy. Because if you use something like Greatsword, for example, Greatsword is mainly on the physical damage than it is with the elemental, which is why you will never see more than once of a topple on Alatreon when it comes to Greatsword via Alatreon. Alatreon's RNG moveset is more aggressive within the evening. Evening Star, the quest specifically, you need to bring ice. However, with Kajar Ice, the superior elemental weapon that is good for CB in most matchups against bosses that are weak to ice, you need to prioritize this pretty well, and a lot of people would do this by Savage X only. And they also bring up Helico. With me here, I've never brought a Palico into an Alatreon matchup. However, I'll reconsider and I'll put it in within the Code X video, which you will see soon. With Frostcraft specifically, it provides you enough of the comfort that you're basically gonna need, from Coalescence to Focus, Resuscitate, Critical Draw for the Axe play, Raw Axe specifically. And then you're also gonna have a whole bunch of other needs that needs to be required. Now, of course, Guard 5 is something that you're gonna need against Alatreon. Half of his attacks are definitely required for Guard 5 just to block. Because with Charge Blade Shield, it's required that you need Guard 5. Your damage is strong enough just to have it with Ice Attack alone. And if you're using Safi Jiva gear, let's just say, you can just pair it up with Coalescence, and you'll be boosted up more with attack boost, and with your elemental status being increased. Which of course just makes it more of a reason why you shouldn't even bother trying to implicate other stat builds into it, such as putting in attack boost. There's no point. Now, of course, with Alatreon, throughout within his dragon phase, I will let you know for sure, this is where he weakens everything of your files to where it will force you to use Savage Axe. Now, of course, you have SCED being the option. And of course, if you're using Frostcraft, you need to rely on the physical damage for the SCED and the use of Raw Axe. With Safi Jiva here, you basically can either still do it with SCED, but you're mainly still going to have to rely on that little bits of damage that you got from your elemental files. And you also need to tenderize Alatreon by its arms and its head, because that is where you're going to be hitting him the most. And specifically enough, you can do it with Savage Axe if you want it to be more relaxing. Because I can understand the guilty pleasure of having to do Savage Axe against Alatreon, because you get to do so many of damage while he's basically completely down. He's holding still just for you. Specifically with Alatreon, once he does transition back to his particular phase, whether if you decide to go with Evening Star, which Evening Star is more on the aggressive side than it is with Dawn of the Death Star, isn't so aggressive. It's more rather giving you 2 openers extra. And when you bring him down to 75% of HP, you get a total of 4 openers within Dawn of the Death Star. Though Kajar King, I will say this, it lacks a bit more on the elemental side, but it's super strong with the physical damage if you Frostcraft it. Evening Star, of course, is something that you will need to be focusing with the most as a charge blade, because your high input of elemental status is something that you can use against Alatreon in order to knock him down easily. If you want to bring a Palico just to help you boost up your physical damage, you may. And of course with Alatreon, overall, he's a simple monster that I wouldn't really need to talk about, because a whole bunch of players have already been reviewing him with just Charge Blade, and they've manifested an idea that is basically just only Savage Axe will be able to handle this guy just well for you. I'm the alternative, of course, if you just want to listen, that if you Frostcraft your CB, you wouldn't really need to rely on Savage Axe. You can simply just damage him with the physical damage of SCED, have the files as the additional bonus, and use Raw Axe. Now, Alatreon may not be that hard. I will be discussing the final monster within this analysis that will basically require much attention to, because nobody has ever done Fatalis more than Alatreon.
And now the time has arrived. Q. I've patiently waited up to this point as per your request. Don't test my patience any further. Let us begin with this analysis, if we may. Now I could ask once more if you're certainly pushing forward. Are there any words of commemoration right before your turn of analysis?
Fatalis. Charge Blade's biggest obstacle. Not impossible, but it is possible. When you start off with phase 1 against Fatalis, you will need smoke bombs. I will be saying this quite a lot because smoke bombs here is the main utility that Charge Blade requires in order for you to really damage down on Fatalis specifically. The reason being, you'll need it for tenderization. So much so, if you're really troubled with him not giving you openers, you can force him to basically look around on his sides and basically deliver an SCD towards his head. There are many ways that you can actually do this towards Fatalis, and not a lot of people really recognize it because all they think about is simply doing it with Savage Axe and saying that it's the only way that you're able to do it against Fatalis. No, not specifically. You're going to have to SCD towards his head. You're going to play it like a Greatsword. Greatsword and Charge Blade, I like to take them as both equals within an end. They delivered hard punishing blows based on their animations, such as the TCS and the SCD altogether. You're mainly going to deliver these files towards his wings, and you're mainly going to use the physical damage to attack towards his head. Now, of course, you're going to be doing this 24/7 constantly in the loop within phase 1. There's nothing special about this phase other than if you want to use cannons, you can use cannons, but there's phase 2. And I'll discuss right now why you should save up for everything until you reach phase 2. Because within phase 2, you're specifically going to have to use the Remanent Ballista. When the Remanent Ballista shows up, you're going to need the one-shot binder that is to your right after you barricade yourself for safety against Fatalis' transitioning phase flame. And when you do that, of course, you're going to have to smoke bomb yourself right underneath your feet whenever you're standing nearby the Remanent Ballista. Right there, you're able to have Fatalis descend down, and he wouldn't be flying anymore, but you just gotta make sure that you tenderize a lot on his parts, specifically the head and, of course, the chest. The chest is the vital part that you need to worry about, because if you want to focus down on knockdowns, do that first if you want to make it easier. And when he gets knocked down early and you have the remaining ammunition within the Remanent Ballista, you need to prioritize that towards his head so that you can damage his parts while you're at it. When you tenderize, that's where you get the most damage. Now, of course, with Charge Blade here, you're going to be doing that most of the time, and if you have Focus 3, you can build files a lot faster. Fatalis here within the second phase is not that difficult. It's basically the same as phase 1, except the arena is expanded larger. Two reasons why I kind of want to talk about this is because when you're going against Fatalis, it's not the Alatreon Charge Blade that you're really going to have to really rely on just to do damage to him. You're mainly going to need to use his own weapon, the true Fatalis Charge Blade specifically. Because if you're planning to do him pretty fast, it's not his weakness that you need to worry about. Sure, his weakness against Dragon is strong, and I'll give you for proof that if you use it with Safi Jiva gear, and you deliver any SCD files to its head while using the Alatreon CB, not Kajar Decay, which is, Huve Toros's Dragon CB. The damage from the Alatreon CB is significantly high, and it hits to 308, but of course, like I said, consistency is better than inconsistency. And the reason why I say this is because with Alatreon, his Charge Blade does not have critical status, and critical status allows you to get that bit of consistency on your damage for your CB files, of course. With true Fatalis Charge Blade, the highest damage that you can basically deliver to him if you're using the Fatalis Charge Blade, and of course with his gear, you're mainly going to be having it to 190 at total best. At the peak maximum, it won't hit over to 200, but he is very distinctive compared to most monsters that basically take it either to 180, 170, and of course over 200. Fatalis obviously will transition over to phase 3 after you complete everything. Phase 2 is regularly about breaking his head once, and of course if you're doing it within multiplayer and if you have Part Breaker, yes, you're basically going to break it twice within that phase if you're lucky enough. Then, of course, you will have to get yourself into phase 3. In phase 3, this is where it matters the most when you're playing as Charge Blade. Now, ultimately, phase 3 is where, of course, you're going to find yourself struggling as a Charge Blade user. But don't worry, because you saved all the utilities like I told you that you're supposed to do. Utilities such as the one-shot binders. One-shot binders, you're able to connect it in and entangle him once you have it prepared. You need to go over to a ballista, a nearby ballista, which is to your far right end, and obviously you need him to face towards you so that his head will be on top of the ledge, and your SCDs can go in with consistent landings. Now, of course, there shouldn't be any excuse for this because he's simply just laying right there, all narrowed, just for you to deliver an SCD that goes straight forward at his face, down to his neck, into his chest. So much so, when you do break his head, here's a little trick that nobody has taught you about, but if you do know about it, well, congrats to you, really. Once you actually have the smoke bomb delivered underneath your feet and you're basically damaging him, it is best to place the smoke bomb onto his chest if you're doing it in multiplayer, but if you're playing it solo, place it underneath your feet, basically at the head. And you can continue damaging Fatalis here and do not move whatsoever when you're in the smoke bomb. Because when you're in the smoke bomb here, it will put you under the clear. You're basically going to be underneath his surveillance and he won't be able to find you, detect you just yet, until he gets up, he recovers, and this is where he roars at your face. Now, of course, you're going to need to guard point this or you evade if you're confident enough in evading that attack. Once you do that, you throw the smoke bomb underneath your feet once more, and bam! Fatalis is looking back and forth to the right and left, as always. And this is a little trick for you so that Charge Blade here can damage this guy even more and get the damage through, because he's basically just going to be a speedster within this phase. And of course he's going to have 3 flame waves of transitions each time you take down his health, step at a time. When Fatalis does this flame wave, just do remember about Fatalis here. It comes down to your DPS, and it also comes down to the horn breaks. If you don't have any of those horns broken, he will one-shot you with the blue flame if you're deciding to tank it, or basically taking any other attacks that involves blue flame, and it uses a fire breath that comes with it too. Fatalis obviously will not one-shot you if you break his head once, or you have broken it twice. It is possible for Charge Blade to break his head twice, and specifically enough, if you're planning to tank the Flame Wave, you need to eat a max pot immediately. Don't use Mega Potions or try to health boost it while drinking Mega Potions. I've seen enough people cart regardless to that, except when you break his 2 horns, then yeah, you can tank it just fine. You need the max pot. The max pot is specifically important for this because if you really want instant health back, you need to consume that. Once you tank it enough, you're able to consume another max pot, then eat a might pill, and then you're able to deliver an SCD towards Fatalis when he flies down. You need to continue your damage towards him, and if you've broken his head twice, be like a greatsword user and aim for the chest once you've broken 2 of his horns within 1 session. Overall with Fatalis, he is not that difficult of a monster. I'm gonna just say this, you really need to use it with Frostcraft. Fatalis gear also works against him. It's no reason at all that you should go Safi'jiiva gear just to do it with Alatreon CB. I highly recommend you either do it with Fatalis gear for comfort, or you just do it with Frostcraft if you're like me. Specifically do it for the Alatreon CB by Frostcrafting it, or using the true Fatalis Charge Blade by Frostcrafting it as well. Your damage on the physical damage will be extended higher whenever you tenderize his head and you damage him with your SCD physical damage, or use Raw Axe just as a substitution for your damage. There's nothing else that needs to be explained, because as much as I want to go into detail about Fatalis, you need to learn about his moveset completely. And once you do that and you decide to play with Charge Blade against him, you need to know the openings. This is exactly why I tell you most of the time that with Fatalis, he is not impossible. A lot of people exaggerated, over-exaggerated specifically, saying he is the toughest monster within the Endgame Iceborne. Yes, sure, he deserves the spot within the 4 horsemen of Endgame Iceborne, but he is not impossible for Chargeblade whatsoever. So yes, with every single monster out of the way within the final 5, I will now begin the gameplay, and I'll upload it within the structure. It will be taking time. Until then, guys.